And this is really kind of cool. We're going from Teslas to Bitcoin. So this feels very, very, very on the cutting edge of where the world is headed. Vijay, just give us a moment here. We're going to actually drop you into the conversation. I want Brad to get through these nominees. And this is a really amazing program. Vijay, if you don't know, what happens is that 12 veterans who have been in the trucking space less than a year and a half are nominated either by their companies, the schools that train them, or sometimes even themselves. And at the end of the day, one lucky one out of these 12 will be the recipient. Well, honorable one too will be the recipient of a new Kenworth T680.
I love it.
It's kind of amazing what's happening here. So good morning to you, Vijay. But Brad, why don't you unpack who these nominees are for us?
Yeah, I'll run through them quickly. Kat Coretta, Army National Guard, representing rail transports, our first semifinalist. Bradley Leckie, also Army with Crawford Electric, which is a Sonopar company, trained at Troops into Transportation. Federico Hudson, Air Force veteran, and I actually met his wife at an event at Joint Base Lewis McGuire-Dix Lakehurst last week, which is a crazy story. Galen Hensley is the first of two from Melton Truck Lines, trained at Central Tech. Army veteran Daniel Hemphill, who trained at Del Mar College down in Texas. Mark Scriven with Stevens Transport. Always have some strong nominees. Joseph Barata is the first of two from Werner Enterprises, along with Nicholas Bond, who represents not only the Army, but Army Reserve, also trained at Troops into Transportation. Macy Maddox, second of female nominee or semifinalists we have with Melton Truck Lines. Ryan Gordon, representing Prime, Army veteran, trained at Phoenix Truck Driving School. Precious Cannon Scott, Air National Guard, also with Prime, trained by a good friend of the show, Donnie Tulk, and his folks at Tulsa Technology.
Oh, I'm so thrilled for them, by the way.
And the 12th one is Charles Jones, Army veteran from Rail Transport, who trained at Georgia Driving Academy. So great lineup of semifinalists this year. Congratulations to all the schools, all the fleets, all the nominees, and we're looking forward to promoting them going forward.
Yeah, and the really kind of cool thing is I'll get a chance to meet all of them, as will Lindsay, when we make our way over to Columbus. This whole thing begins, Vijay, do me a favor, by the way. I listened to about 3 or 4 different videos with you kind of in the action. Tell me, like I said, and I was given a pronunciation guide, but I want to make sure I get this right. Vijay Marolia, right?
That's perfect, and I'm actually very impressed that you got it on the first try. Well done, sir.
Well, thank you very much. It's like when you come from New Orleans and we say Burgundy as opposed to Burgundy. You have to learn how to pronounce things properly, by the way. The other really kind of cool thing, Vijay, is we go to Columbus after that. We start in Columbus at the Veterans Museum and Memorial. We then make our way over to the Chillicothe plant, where we get a chance to see one of those T680s up close and personal. They then announce the 3 to 4 finalists that go to Washington, D.C. in December, and then the award is given out at the Chamber of Commerce. And we always kind of use this as our bellwether. The first female recipient, Ashley Leva, when she won it, her daughter actually figured out that she'd won it before she did. So the photo is of her daughter reacting while Ashley is still praying. So the daughter has figured out there's nobody left. You know how they always do the second, the runner-up, and then you realize you're the last person standing.
Process of elimination. I love it.
Yeah, and so watch this transition, Brad Bentley, by the way. One of the things that they really have strived to do with this transition trucking is they want to make sure that these guys don't just get a truck, these guys and gals don't get a truck, but that they get owner-operator training, they get financial advice, they get financial training. So with these 12 people, many of whom are listening this morning, many of them might be considering, hey, I've got a big future ahead of me in the trucking industry. I want to make some investments. I want to make some choices. I want to do some business. Bitcoin might be one of the things they're looking at. And I think it sets you up really nicely to talk about this. We're so thrilled to have you this morning. And good morning to you, by the way. Welcome aboard.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So can we just kind of start off, like I said, let's imagine, like I said, a lot of our listeners know of what you speak. I know of what you speak, but there's some folks out there who are just kind of getting into trucking, just kind of getting into their own finances, who have heard a lot about Bitcoin. And one of the reasons you're here is to kind of dispel some of the myths and rumors, but also talk about its stability, what it means for potential future growth. So kind of give us your kind of 30,000 foot view of Bitcoin, and then we'll kind of go from there into your particulars.
Sure, perfect. And I think the best way to do it is to kind of discuss not only what people like about it that own it and are continuing to buy it, but let's also discuss who is staying away from it, who is advising against it, and what is their reasons for doing so. So first, what is it? So digital money is the goal. However, it's acting more like a digital commodity. What's the difference? Well, currencies are supposed to be not very volatile, right? In fact, that's what the central bank's job is. One of their two jobs, keep maximum employment and keep prices stable. They have failed miserably at keeping prices stable since the creation of the Federal Reserve, 1913. Dollars lost over 98% of its value. So the thing that I think everybody can relate to, doesn't matter what side of the aisle, doesn't matter where you live, as long as you're in the United States, you understand that we have had a ridiculous amount of inflation, and it's not going away. All these talking heads on TV keep talking about the rate of inflation coming down. That just means that prices are going up at a slightly slower rate, but it's still well above where it's supposed to be, and it's making it very, very difficult for a lot of people. And so if you think about the purpose of Bitcoin, it was to protect against inflation. There is a lack of trust in many of the biggest institutions, and that includes central banks. And it seems as if the people that are making the mistakes are getting bailed out, and that necessitates a creation of a lot of money, and that creation of a lot of money makes prices go up. And there is a really nasty effect where those that are closest to the largest institutions and the banks, inflation is going to affect them last. Inflation is going to have the least effect on them, but it's really going to affect the people that get the money last, which is the consumer. So after that money goes from the government institutions, the central banks, to the other contractors, and those contractors will hire other people, and then finally you get your paycheck. And by that time, everybody's already raised their prices. Okay. And so Bitcoin has a limited supply. If there's one thing that I want people to take away from this, and if there's one thing that I think is very strong, is that there's never going to be more than 21 million of them. And you can't see that about any other currency because central banks can just create as much as they want, right? So we got off the gold standard in August 15, 1971. And that basically took away any limit, any discipline that the central bank should have had.
Well, you know, I'm
That's a lot that I just said there.
I'm going to push back on a couple of things, not by way of having an argument, because there's so much you said that's so important, and like it's all about understanding this. And one of the reasons we actually got off the gold standard was because the Saudis were attempting to choke us on gold, and the Venezuelans were attempting to choke us on gold.
Well, they were withdrawing it, and the reason why they were withdrawing it is because we were spending money like drunk congressmen, which is something that we've kind of continued to do up until that point. But no, it was right. We were going to run out of gold. That was going to cause a crisis, and so we decided to cheat.
Yeah. By the way, I want to tell people. By the way, that is the great American tradition. Remember, Japan incorporated in the late '80s and early '90s. They're going to take over the world, and then the Americans did the greatest thing in the world, which is basically, buy it all up. Oh wait, you have no more use for it? We'll take it back on pennies on the dollar. That's the American way to some degree. But the really cool thing about the cool thing about Bitcoin, in the sense that it is like gold in one way, is that it really is inflationary proof. And I just want to kind of remind folks, if you think inflation here is bad, Jerome Powell looks like a genius compared to the people who run the equivalent of the feds around the world. There's a lot of inflationary problems, which is why you guys actually think that Bitcoin is a really kind of great universal solution for a lot of folks, because as you well pointed out, I think brilliantly, it affects the people who do this stuff last, but the people who get the money last get hurt first, is kind of the way to think about it, right? That's kind of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And here's the thing. It would be one thing, and this is the reason why financial literacy is so important to us. It would be one thing if we learned about it in grade school. Then we would understand how to protect ourselves. We would understand that we need to own hard assets, income-producing assets, equities, but we don't. we don't learn about any of that. We don't even know what a FICO is until we already signed up for the credit card because we wanted that free T-shirt at the football game. And so it's really sad, almost criminal, if you think about what we're doing to our own society. And it can be easily fixed if we just give them the information early.
By the way, if you guys are just joining us, Vijay, you can find out more about what he does at two places. You can go to rpcapitalsolutions.com. You can also go to Vijay Hedges on the tube of you. Make your way over there. It's Vijay, and then it's all underlined, but make sure it's Vijay space Hedges, and check out him over there as well. Let's talk about the beginnings of Bitcoin, by the way, about who created it, and is this a person or is this a team? Sorry, that's the first time I'm reading for your notes. I know the answer, but it's kind of a fun story.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you really know? Because I'll be honest with you, I think it's still a mystery. I mean, so basically, for our listeners, after the great financial crisis, we call it the subprime meltdown. Lehman Brothers went under. All the investment banks that we kind of grew up with for generations, one by one, they all just either got bankrupted or bought out by a bigger fish. And that's kind of when all hell broke loose in the financial markets. And so a white paper was published. And the author of the white paper just means kind of like an independent research paper. That's not really like sponsored by anybody except for whoever is writing it. And it's kind of a way to test your ideas against the criticism of the public. So he wrote a white paper. He wanted to create a digital money where you did not need a third party to intervene. You did not need a trusted party. The network, the blockchain, if you will, would do everything for you, and it wouldn't cost like fees like the banks charge. His name was Satoshi Nakamoto, and for a while he was posting on the Bitcoin blog, the website, and it's allowing other coders to kind of help improve the system. But then one of the people that was in charge of it, he actually met with the CIA, and that was not something that Satoshi Nakamoto was happy with. He's been MIA ever since. In other words, we haven't heard from him. And so there's a lot of rumors about who it could be. Some people think it's more than one person. And I would love to know, Jimmy, who is it, man?
Well, I think there really is this Satoshi Nakamoto, but I do think though that he's the one that actually stepped into the fire, if that makes any sense. I think it's about 2 or 3 dudes who actually kind of came up with this. I don't think that now. Look, Alexander Hamilton proves that one really brilliant guy sitting behind a desk in isolation can actually dream up an entire economic system. But I actually think this was probably born of about 2 to 3 guys kind of pitching it out there. Nakamoto took the first step forward and then kind of realized maybe I should take a step back for a little bit here. That's kind of my speculation. When I say I know, that's what I think is going on. That's what I think. I'd love to hear your spec.
That's a great example. That's a great example that you used with Hamilton as well. More people should learn about that story. Don't worry about watching the play. That's probably too expensive. Just go read the actual book that Ron Chernow wrote that helped inspire the play that Mr. Miranda.
It's so good. I tell people all the time, really if you ever really want to, I really hope that Chernow at some point writes a book about Ty Cobb, because Chernow has proven how brilliant Hamilton was and what an honorable man he was. He's proven that Grant was not a drunk and actually a pretty darn good president until his misunderstanding of finances unraveled him. I would like him to do Ty Cobb, because Cobb has been labeled a racist, and we now know that that was simply a guy who hated him, did that to him after he died, which is like one of the most awful stories. We're getting in the weeds here. I did that to myself.
But hold on, you got to bring me back on, talk about baseball one of these days. But before I interrupted you, keep going.
Oh, by the way, speaking of baseball, I got a chance to meet a guy this week at the Texas Trucking Association who works for Fleetworthy, did 6 weeks in the major leagues. And we ended up, I got to tell you, there's all kinds of, we've been talking about Dave Parker this morning as well. Vijay, really quickly, I want to make sure we get enough of this stuff in. Our friends are thinking about maybe investing in Bitcoin. What are you telling these truck drivers, many of whom have the resources, many of whom have worked very hard? Most of them are small business owners looking to diversify their portfolio. As a financial advisor, as a guy who sees what's coming, what would your recommendation to them be?
I would say that when you look at your long-term portfolio as a pie, it needs to be a piece in there. Now, what I don't want people to do is think of it like a lottery ticket. It's not a lottery ticket. It's going to be volatile, right? It is a digital asset. And so assets go up and down in value. And if you're in this for the long term, I think it's going to go up in value. Why? Well, let's just keep it simple. Prices are dependent ultimately on supply and demand. Well, I already told you the supply is going to be limited to 21 million, right? What's going to happen to demand? Well, let's see. We just got new legislation, okay? That's going to free up a lot of pent-up demand. We have all these ETFs taking in billions and billions of dollars. It's going to be allowed in retirement accounts. Fidelity is now allowing it. That's one of the biggest financial companies with distribution in America. And so, and that is before we even talk about tokenization. Now, people, tokenization is the process that we're all going to witness over the next decade or two, where all our assets, whether it's our homes or our companies or even our cars, anything that can produce a cash flow, it's going to become a token. It will create liquidity. It will create opportunities for people that never had the opportunity to take ownership before. It's going to be very exciting. So if you're in it for the long haul, so to speak, pun intended, then
Nicely done.
You want to own some. Thank you. Let's end on a good note then.
Yeah. Vijay Marolia is a seasoned fund manager, author, and frequent contributor to Wharton Business Radio on our former platform, that which will not be spoken. Commonly quoted in Bloomberg, CNBC, Barron's, and Wall Street Journal's Market Watch, Vijay covers a wide aspect of capital markets, economic trends, and is a major advocate for financial literacy, as you can tell. Guys, let's all make a point, everybody listening right now, just go over and subscribe over at Vijay Hedges on the same platform if you're listening on YouTube. He'd love to have you over there. There's a lot of great content, and from what you hear, a lot of articulate and really, common sense, down to earth, and yet not simplifying it, telling it like it is. Vijay, thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime, my friend.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's an honor.